that time again. It's time for episode number 40 of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. My name is Deborah, and I'm coming to you from here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I'll try any craft once and twice if I like it. I am also a professor of physics and astronomy at a local university where I teach classes about physical science, physics, astronomy, meteorology, astrophysics to both physics majors and to the general education population. Plus, I also volunteer to do planetarium shows for school groups and community groups, and I am a member of various different committees, including the Women in Academic Leadership Committee and some committees about increasing diversity in both our faculty and our student population. And last but not least, I am a farmer. I am a third-generation family farmer here on my farm that my family has lived on for over a century. I raise grass-fed beef cattle, I raise horses, I have heritage poultry, I have show-quality rabbits, and I have a retirement herd of donkeys, miniature horses, a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost, and now we have Princess Penny the pig. And as you can tell from my sweet fur kid host here, Willie, I am fur kid mom to 14 dogs, 7 indoor cats, and an undetermined number of outside cats. So if any of all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll come along as we join in on episode number 40, the big 40 of episode of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, if you're looking for us on social media, my farm Facebook page is Buckthorn Farms, just like my YouTube channel name. I am also found on Ravelry and on Instagram as Doc Firewoman. And also there is a Ravelry group for the podcast where you can learn about make-alongs and giveaways and all that good stuff. It is Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, and all the details on our different make-alongs and giveaways are found there. You can also find me on Twitter, but I am a fairly left-leaning liberal Democrat, so if that kind of stuff gives you high blood pressure, probably should stay away from Twitter. But I keep that stuff to a fairly dull roar everywhere else. So let's talk about some make-alongs. Have quite a few to mention here. Where are you going, bud? Come on, just sit. Why don't you sit down? Here we go. Let's sit down. Okay, I have quite a few to mention. First of all, in my group, I am currently running 5 make-alongs that are year-long make-alongs. The first of which is the Farmer's Almanac make-along, where each month I create an inspiration post about starting with information from the Farmer's Almanac, and then I expand outward from there. And pretty much if you can somehow tie your item to the month information or something about the month, I'll take it. Each month I do a pattern prize drawing, and then at the end of the year there will be an FO thread, which is now posted, where you can post any finished objects that you get finished with, and there will be a grand prize drawing for a physical prize at the end of the year. The next thing is the Kidder Getter Done. The Kidder Getter Done is because I hoard kits, quite frankly. And so I am looking for support and an excuse to work through my kits this year. So any kits, it can be any craft, any kind of crafting kit, shawl kits, basket kits, jewelry kits, doesn't matter. I'm pretty wide open on the kits. Next, I am hosting jointly with Laura from the Crocheting Whovian podcast, the Creature Feature, where we are making amigurumis. We are having quarterly themes. You do not have to follow the theme for the quarter, but if you do, you get a double entry. So each quarter we will be doing pattern prize drawings. We just switched quarters from sea creatures to farm animals or farm friends. So now anything that you can say lives on a farm, and there are a lot of things that live on a farm besides the obvious things, so you can include those for a double entry. Then at the end of the year there will be a post, an FO thread post with the instructions on it, where you can post your final objects again for a physical prize. So this month, so April, May, June will be farm friends, and then we're switching to wild creatures. So anything that's not a domestic animal or a domesticated animal You can put in your next time, but you can make whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I'm like I said, I'm co-hosting that with Laura, so you can double dip in the two groups if you go check that out. I am also co-hosting a shawl knit along with Vanessa from the A Historian Knits podcast, where we are doing the I Like Big Shawls and I Cannot Lie knit along. It is a knit along only. The creature feature is any knit, crochet, loom knitting, doesn't matter. But the shawl make along is knit along only, and it has to be 1,200 plus yards as dictated by the pattern. And there is a bundle that Vanessa kindly created that's in my group and also in hers. Again, opportunity for double dipping there. And last but not least, I'm hosting the Never Have I Ever, which is where we are learning new skills, we are learning new crafts, we are learning new techniques, we are doing new stuff. And so you can post there as long as you can make a case for it. And that is a random prize drawing. All the rules are listed in the threads on the different make-alongs, so I encourage you to go check those out. So now I'm going to, before I forget, we are doing an informal Earth along. Starting on Earth Day, there is a specific Earth amigurumi pattern that Laura and I will be starting on Earth Day. It is a free pattern. I have linked it, and there is a thread on Ravelry, and we are going to make Earth amigurumis. So this is separate from Creature Feature, although you can double dip if you like. You can put it in the Creature Feature thread, but we will be doing a little informal Earth along. I'll probably run it until my birthday and then draw for some kind of a prize. I don't know what that prize will be yet, but I'll figure it out as I go. So go check that out if you're interested. And I'm going to tell you about a giveaway that I'm doing, but I'm going to save that till the end after the make-along chat. So let's go on and talk about some other groups make-alongs. The first one is Vanessa. I already mentioned her. She's co-hosting the shawl make-along with me. Vanessa from the A Historian Knits podcast is also hosting the Cowl, where we are making cowls. And I believe that one runs until June the 30th. So June the 30th, it is currently open right now where you can make cowls. And I actually have a couple cast on that I need to work on. So you can go there and join that. I am not co-hosting that one. I am just participating. So go check out her group. Then Laura from A Crocheting Whovian is hosting a couple of different ones. Right now, the one that she is hosting with me is Creature Feature. Then also she has the Whip It Good one where you are trying to finish whips. So there's some rules in there about frogging and stuff like that. But basically anything that was started by March the 1st, or I believe she has some openness for other cows that she's running, like Tortoise versus Hare or the Creature Feature. So go read the rules for that, but it's a good excuse to finish your whips. Tortoise versus Hare, as I mentioned, hasn't started yet, but this is something that she does with the ladies from Pinhook and Needles. It starts July the 1st, and it's basically a race to see who makes the most amigurumis, the tortoise people or the hare people. So, and she has some cute crochet patterns that she's working that I'm actually going to get to test for her that are coming out soon for that. So keep an eye out for those. Also jointly with Pinhook and Needles, she and Stephanie from Vanilla Sock Pig are hosting the Autism Awareness Cow. It is running from April 1st until June 30th, I think. I may be wrong on that calendar. I wrote my dates down in a bad spot. But anyway, you can look up the Autism Awareness one. I believe it's April 1st through June 30th on the Autism Awareness. And there are some rules in each different group for that. But basically, it needs to be bright colors. Or blue, which is the one of the main ribbon colors for Autism Awareness. They have some things about featured patterns and so forth and so on. But if you'll go there and look, there's a chance to triple dip in 3 different organizations or 3 different podcast entries. Then I'm very proud to announce that Laura has written a beautiful shawl pattern called the Life Changes Shawl. I don't have a color picture of it printed out, but it is a beautiful shawl. It is meant to be a 2-skein fingering weight shawl. It is currently in testing right now. I think most of her testers are almost done, and they've got all the kinks worked out of the pattern. It comes out on May the 3rd, unless you buy one of the kits from Arkansas Yarn Co. is dyeing up some special kits. If you buy a kit from her, you get the pattern ahead of time. But if you don't want to purchase a kit, you can wait until May 3rd, the pattern comes out, and then she is starting a knit along for her shawl that will run from May 5th to June 30th. So you can get in on that, and it looks like a really nice shawl. That is going to be co-hosted with Nikki from Nic Nac Knits. And again, Arkansas Yarn Co. has some beautiful shawl kits available for that. So those, I believe, are all of Laura from Crocheting Whovian's podcast. Then we'll move on to Nikki from Nic Nac Knits. Nikki has several going on. Like I said, she's co-hosting the Life Changes Knit Along with Laura. She also has her Scrappy Project Cal going on right now that is running through the end of the year to make things from scraps, which is a great thing. Use up those scraps. She has a sock along, or sock it to me cal, where single sock counts as an entry. So if you finish a pair of socks, that's 2 entries. So that gives you a reason to finish all those orphaned or singleton socks that you've got. Also, she is running a really cute little gnome along. She likes gnomes, and it is actually running until March 1st of next year. So she has several patterns listed, but any gnome pattern will do. It can be knit or crochet, and all of that is going on in the Nic Nac Knits podcast. Then we have Pinhook and Needles, which has several different ones. As I mentioned already, they are doing Tortoise versus Hare starting July 1 with Laura from Crocheting Whovian. They are also heavily involved in the autism awareness. I believe this was their original idea, the autism awareness Cal. Their rules are available, and their group is very chatty. It's a very good place to go to get some feedback on color choices or ideas. Also, currently running through the end of the year, they have the Tea and Tails make along, where you have to either tie the finished object to tea, as in drinking tea, or tails, books, and they have the rules listed there. Plus, also in conjunction with the autism make along, they have the Sparkle Like the Star You Are make along, which is the sparkly yarn make along to go along with that. So go check out their group. They have a very active Ravelry group with lots of chatter going on over there, so go check them out for sure. Then Heidi from Undead Yarn is running the Finish It or Frog It along, where if you've got a whip, you need to either finish it or you need to frog it. And you can go read the rules on her group there. She is the Undead Yarns podcast, so you can find out more there. Vanilla Sock Pig, Stephanie, is co-hosting, as I mentioned, the Autism Awareness make-along with Pinhook and Needles and Crocheting Whovian, but she also is running the Multiple Myeloma Awareness make-along, which runs through the end of May, and things there have to be made predominantly from red yarn, because red is the myeloma yarn, or awareness ribbon is red. You can go read more about that. So go check her group out also. I think that's a craft along. So she's taking cross stitch or knitting or crocheting or sewing or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities there to make things. And if you think about all these different things, there's a lot of crossover opportunities there. Last but not least, Yolanda from Happy Knits, who's one of the very first podcasts that I ever started watching. She has got a Don't Stall on Your Shawl make along going on, or knit along, which is knit or crochet. Finish those shawls. I've got 2 or 3 started right now. I just finished one that I'm going to show you at FO's. But don't stall on your shawl. So those are all the make-alongs as I'm aware. So now I want to talk a little bit about a giveaway that I'm going to do. This is going to be a giveaway. I mentioned the Livestock Conservancy's program, Shave 'em to Save 'em, which I am participating in the Passport program for yarn specifically from breeds of sheep that are listed on the conservation priority list for the Livestock Conservancy. They have a Ravelry group about this initiative, where you can go and find yarn sourced from the specific people who are involved in this that can give you the passport stamps. I have looked over it. There's a lot of beautiful yarn out there, reasonably priced. I mean, there's something in most people's price point that you can get a hold of. And then you get a passport and put in stamps, and you have to finish your project, and there's a minimum of, you have to use 4 ounces of yarn. And I talked about that either on the last podcast or the previous one, so you can go check that out or go look at the Ravelry group. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a thread on my Ravelry group that will be open until May 1st. And I'm going to put a writing prompt up there for you, and I will choose one recipient to get I will pay the enrollment fee for the Shave 'em to Save 'em program. So please only enter this giveaway if you're interested in participating in that program. It's a neat program. It's really cool. It puts monies directly into the pockets of the people raising the sheep. So you get to know that wool. So if you're interested in participating in that program, I will be adding a thread to my Ravelry group where you can answer a writing prompt, and I will choose somebody at the end of, or after it closes on May 1st, and I will pay their enrollment fee and Shave 'em to Save 'em. So I will need you to get in touch with me with your mailing address and all of that good stuff so that I can take care of that. So yeah, because I am all about supporting some livestock conservancy stuff. So anyway, if you want to know more before you choose to do the writing prompt, go ahead and look at the Livestock Conservancy page, and it tells about the Shave 'em to Save 'em program, or find the Ravelry group. I will link that. I realized I forgot to put show notes up for the previous episode. I will just blame that on my forgetfulness, so I will try to correct that this evening, and I will also try to make sure that I get show notes up. So I'll put a link to the Shave 'em to Save 'em program so you can read more about that. But I want to purchase a membership for somebody who's interested in doing that program. So, all right. Yay. So that's, I think, everything that I've got to talk about there. So now we're going to move on and talk about finished objects. Okay, I have 3 finished objects to share with you. One of them is staring you in the face, but I'm going to save it for last. So my first finished object is just a dishcloth. I decided I needed to start building up a supply of cotton dishcloths again, so I just used, and I just took this off the needles a little bit ago, so I need to block it. It's kind of loosey-goosey right now. But I believe this is Grandma's second favorite dishcloth. It's knit just with some cotton scrap yarn that I had, and I literally finished it moments ago because I wanted to finish it. I only had a few stitches left. So I'm going to start building up a supply of these again for myself, and then also to give away as gifts. This one is a pretty loosely knit one. I knit this on pretty big needles, and I like that style, so I'll probably keep this one for myself. So I got that done. Then I finished my Adirondack Wrap. This is a free pattern, I believe, on Chiwe Rink or One Dog Wolf's blog. But it was also a kit that was available from Lion Brand Yarns, and I purchased the kit last year. So I have finished my Adirondack Wrap. Yay! It is a nice, large, squishy wrap. I put a couple of tassels on the end of it here. This was my before class crocheting project. So I am going to wear this to work tomorrow to let my students see that I have completed my wrap. I may not leave it on for very long because it's starting to, well, it's chilly here today, but I don't think it'll be chilly tomorrow. But I completed my Adirondack Wrap. This is a definitely beginner friendly project. This was made from the Lion Brand mandala yarn. In fact, the kit gave you 3 balls of it, but you could just go purchase the ones that you like. This colorway is called Warlock, and I thought it was a nice autumnal looking wrap. Okay, and it's made in 3 wedges, and then you join them together. But it is a very beginner friendly pattern. I think Rena was asking about it. It is all, if you can double crochet and you can chain, you can make this. It is that simple. So yeah, so I encourage you to check that out if you're interested. It is a free pattern, I believe, on her blog, or you can purchase, I believe you can still purchase the kit from Lion Brand Yarn. And when they run a sale, it's actually, even with shipping, cheaper than buying the yarn in your local big box store. So I finished my Adirondack Wrap. And last but not least, the elephant, or should I say the whale in the room, I have finished Hazel. Yay! She just makes me so joyful. I finished Hazel the Humpback Whale. Yay! Look at her. Miss Shirley calls her Queen Hazel, so I've started calling her Queen Hazel. But this is Hazel the Humpback Whale. This is a free pattern by Beck Brittain. It is a knitted amigurumi, so this is a never have I ever for me because I have never ever knitted an amigurumi before, and she did take a little bit longer than crocheting one, but I believe she's worth every bit of it. Could not be more pleased with how she turned out. She took a full jumbo skein and a bit of Lion Brand Super Saver in Gray Heather. And then I actually recycled yarn to stuff her with. Remember these yarn from the Scotland sweater, the ill-fated Scotland sweater that was coming apart? That's what she's stuffed with mostly. There is some fiberfill stuffing in there too. But I could not be more pleased. She is 43 inches from nose tip to the tip of her tail. So there is Queen Hazel. Hazel the Humpback Whale. She is very soft and squishy. I took her to work on Friday and I never had a chance to go put her in my office, so I literally carried her everywhere I went on campus Friday. So Hazel the Humpback Whale. So those are my finished objects. So now we're going to move on to works in progress. Okay, we're going to move on to works in progress here. My first one is, I am back on my Marine Life blanket, and I put it in my little Friends of Science bag after I finished my Adirondack Wrap. I am on block number, this is block number 14 of 20 that I'm going to do. This is the Lobster. This is a free pattern from Two Hearts Crochet. And I am only about 15 rows in to the Lobster. But, let's see, it goes this way. Alright, so, yeah. Alright, so I just got started on that a couple of nights ago, and I've just put about 15 rows on it. So I'm making him a blue lobster, like those unusual blue lobsters that were found off the coast of Maine. They're pretty rare. They're not super uncommon. They're rare, but they're not like one of a kind. There have been multiple blue lobsters found, but I thought that would be kind of cool to have a blue lobster in my blanket. So again, this is a free pattern by Two Hearts Crochet. These are some of the bonus blocks. I actually finished the initial 12 blocks, and then she released bonus blocks, and I decided, well, why not? Might as well make those too. So that's in my Friends of Science little tote bag there, and I'm just knitting or crocheting that, excuse me, out of just some different acrylic yarns that I happen to have. Try to use up some scraps for that Scrappy Cow. Next, in my By the Bay Yarn Co. East Texas Fiber Festival exclusive bag here, I have the Just Feel Better shawl. Just Feel Better is a pattern by, it's a free pattern by Kalisha Ryan from the Quirky Monday podcast. Okay, this is a crocheted shawl, and this is a free pattern that she released, and it is meant to be a comforting, squishy shawl. It is being crocheted out of two colorways from Coop Dyeworks. These are both her Twinkle Toes base. This one is Wonder Woman, and then this one is called Fireworks. So these are both sparkle sock yarns. Okay, and I am crocheting this shawl for both the autism awareness, because it's bright colored sparkly, and the multiple myeloma craft along. So I am just getting started on this. I've done 2 repeats of the base pattern, and I'm just kind of trucking along, striping this kind of as I go. So that is the Just Feel Better shawl by Kalisha Ryan from the Quirky Monday podcast. Free pattern, which is always good. So, but I have bought some of her patterns too. She has some really nice crocheted patterns. So, okay. Then, last but not least, I am still stuck in Sea Creature Land. So, in my Women of Science tote, that was a gift from a really sweet Christmas swap that I did, I got it in my head that I had to make a whale shark. So, I am crocheting the, let's see, find him here. Oh, there's my pen. Pull it out here. It is the, on the front page, Quail Shark by Pawpaw. It's a pay-for pattern on Ravelry. Okay. And I am working on that and making, again, that out of acrylic yarn. So I have done the mouth, and I'm now starting to work on the patterning on the body. So the mouth you do first, and then it kind of folds in, and then you just do the patterning on the body. I don't know the best way to show that. So that's where I'm at. I just started this last night, so I got in the mood. I've been rewatching the series Numbers, for those of y'all familiar with that. It came out in like 2006, and of course it's how a mathematician and his friend who's a physicist and his girlfriend who's an astrophysicist help the FBI to solve crimes. So I love that show. And I love it to the point that it's to my own detriment to watch it, because it will be 1:30 a.m. and I'm still, like, you know, watching the episode. So I have to kind of police myself a little bit about watching that show. Anyway, so those are my whips for today. So let's move on now and talk about future crafting. Okay, I'm just going to show a couple of things in future crafting, and one of them I don't really have anything to show, but one thing that I am going to do as soon as I get done recording is I am donating some burp cloths, and I showed those on one of my previous episodes, the little burp cloths that are lined with terry towel on the back. Laura from Crocheting Whovian, her dad puts together a basket that they auction off to help pay for the ball fields in the borough of New York where she lives, and so I thought I would make her a couple of little burp cloths, and then I'm also going to donate one of my little dragon loveys for them to put in the basket. So I thought I'd whip up a couple. Those don't take very long, so I thought I'd whip up those and send them to her. Now, the other thing is, when Laura's shawl pattern comes available to the public and she starts her knit along, I am going to make it out of, this is Malabrigo. This is, what is it called? Malabrigo sock, and this is just black yarn. And then I have this rainbow sock blank, because I believe it's Kimberly who has done hers with black and bright colors. And I thought that would be really pretty. I bought the rainbow sock blank from Lamb Woman Knits last year to do a sock blank along, and then I never used it. So I thought, ooh, that would be really pretty for Laura's shawl. So I've got those two ready to, or not ready to go, but I'll get them ready to go for Laura's shawl along. And then several years ago, I don't remember when, I went to a quilt show with a friend of mine. There was a quilt show down in, I guess it was even 2012 when I went. I think it may have been around 2012, 2013. It's been a while. I went, and there was a really cute quilt kit that I found. And, you know, I'm a sucker, especially because it was Halloween. And it's a little thing called We're Not Scary. And it's got this little, it's a little witch and her cat, and it says, come play with us on Halloween. We're not as scary as we seem. So it's got all the materials to make that here. So I want to try to get that done this year for Halloween. Ideally for the fair, but for Halloween. So I've had that pulled out for a while to try to get made. Because y'all know I love the Halloween. So those are all my future crafting ideas for this week. So now we're going to move on and talk about acquisitions. So this is all the crafty making content. The rest of it's going to be acquisitions and science and farm life. So if you're into that, come ahead. And if you're not, I'll see y'all next time. So we're going to move on and talk a little bit about acquisitions. Okay, in acquisitions today, I've just got a couple of things to show. I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm a member of the Woolly Wonka Celtic Year Shawl Club. And so we just got our Ostara shawl, which is for the spring equinox. And this is the yarn kit that was dyed up for that shawl. I don't have the shawl pattern printed out because you get it as a digital file. But this is the shawl pattern. It's called Ostara or Equinox Sunrise. And I love those colors. Well, that's a much better representation of how they look. That yellow, I love that daffodil or jonquil yellow. That's my favorite yellow. So I'm excited to get to make that one. I have started the Samhain shawl, which was in October. That's in my pile of whips, so maybe I can get that done. Then I decided to join Blueprint for a year. And it might surprise you that instead of getting a knitting or crocheting kit, because you got a kit if you paid for a year at a time, I chose to purchase the quilt kit or get the quilt kit. So I got this quilt kit because it looked like it would be a lot of fun to make. It's called The Good Life. And in the colorway I got was Botanical Rainbow, because I love, there's something about black and brights that I just really love together. So I got the kit also with all the fabrics in there. Like I needed another quilt kit, but hey, you know. It has the clasp that goes with it on Blueprint. And so I need to, this summer I'm wanting to do some sewing because it's, yeah. There's just not enough hours in the day, are there? You know, there's just not enough hours in the day. But anyway, so I recently got that also. So let me put that over here just real quick. Okay. Okay. Then, last but not least, I think I had showed the pin that I had purchased for my young friend Rory, who she and I ride horses at the barn together, and she and I also share a love of Star Trek, and I had got the Star Trek cap for her. She's Miss Marianne's granddaughter. Well, we were meeting up for dinner the other day, and I found out that she's actually going to have to be away most of the summer for a necessary retreat that she has to go on. And she was very sad about that. And I said, well, it'll be all right. We'll still be, you know, we'll have a little bit of August where we can ride and do all these things. And we both share a love of enamel pins. And she saw this little dragon on the Clever Clove page. And it's a little dragon on a pile of books. And so she was so sad that I decided to order her one. So I ordered myself one too. And then also I had been putting off getting these knitting narwhals, but y'all know I love the narwhals. So I got those for myself. I'm going to have to make me a new pin holder pretty soon because I'm starting to run out of room on my pin holder. But at any rate, so those are my acquisitions for this week. So now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about science. Okay, so let's talk about some science. And y'all know what the first thing on my mind is, if you know me well at all. It's the picture of the black hole. That was a huge big deal. Oh my goodness. A group from the Event Horizon Telescope was able to finally get a reasonably good image of the actual event horizon of a black hole. And this is a huge deal. Part of the problem with visualizing black holes is either they're extremely far away or shrouded in dust, especially ones that are galactic black holes. They're shrouded in the dust from the galactic center. So this was a huge undertaking, and rendering the images was a huge undertaking that took terabytes and terabytes of data. And I am so over the moon that Dr. Katie Bowman was the person who wrote the algorithm that analyzed the data. She is a PhD that worked on the program. She's a computer scientist, and she wrote an algorithm that analyzed this huge amount of data. And she gave a great TED Talk on this, which I'm going to link. But this was a 200-person team effort to take this data and visualize this image. So to tell you a little bit about it, first of all, if you are one of the people grumbling about how blurry it is, you need to just shut your pie hole. This image is amazing. This image is like trying to take a picture of a firefly next to a conflagration at 200 miles. So kudos to them for doing this. This is an amazing, amazing effort. Most of the pictures that you're seeing are just right of the event horizon. The picture that's actually much more expressive and informative is a zoomed out view of the entire accretion disk. The way black holes work, and this one is a galactic black hole. It is a black hole. It's sometimes called a supermassive black hole. It's at the center of a galaxy. The way black holes work is there's the event horizon, which is where the point of no return, so to speak, where stuff falls in and doesn't come back out. But there's the accretion disk of material swirling around this black hole. This particular black hole is in the galaxy M87, which is a really large elliptical galaxy in the Virgo cluster. It is known to be a very active galaxy. This black hole has a phenomenon called relativistic beaming, where there's jets of material, or excuse me, jets of energy being blown out of it. And you can see the motion of the material in the accretion disk. It's something about the diameter of our solar system at the event horizon, and stuff is orbiting that in every 2 days. So that is an incredibly high speed of motion for this material. It is about 53.5 million light years away from us. But what happens is, when the galaxy probably formed, this matter centrally condensed and became so dense that it collapsed to form this supermassive black hole. And we think that most galaxies actually have black holes at the center of them. Ours has one, we're pretty sure. It's just quiet right now because it's swept up most of the material within its reach. Black holes are not these giant space vacuum cleaners that go all over the place. They're not like a space Roomba that goes around and just sucks up random unfortunate things. You know, it stays where it's at. So unless something causes more material to be bumped in within the gravitational pull of the black hole, it goes quiet. M87, there's a lot of evidence that M87 has actually cannibalized a lot of smaller neighbor galaxies, so that's probably why it is so, that black hole is so active right now. So, but yes, Dr. Katie Bowman was the person who wrote the algorithm that visualized this image, and kudos to her. I am so tickled that it was her. My favorite picture is that one that many of you have probably seen of her being so excited to look at it. So I'm going to link her TED Talk there, and I'm also going to link the Veritasium, a couple of Veritasium videos that explain what you're seeing on there. And understand again that this is a group project. Most of these big observing missions have multiple people on them, usually a couple hundred people work on them, and she was very gracious to acknowledge the hard work of everybody on her team. But she's the one who wrote the algorithm, so yay. So anyway, so very exciting, very, very, very exciting that we have finally done this. It's amazing how much we learn as technology advances. They've estimated actually that this black hole is about 6.5 billion times the mass of our sun, which makes sense for the size of galaxy that M87 is. M87 is a lot bigger than our galaxy. They estimate it has about 1 trillion stars in it, where we're at a couple of 100 billion. So, yeah, so it's a big old galaxy. Probably got big by eating its neighbors. Anyway, so there's a little science sprinkle, as Jessica likes to call it. On campus, it is like we got to spring break, had spring break, and then we came back, and it was like, everything must be done right now. So every single Friday, I have been committed to some function at school, and also through the week. I think right after I recorded the last time, we had the Arkansas State Science and Engineering Fair. I'm actually wearing, they have a t-shirt competition where the young people submit t-shirt designs, and this one and then the one on the back of this shirt were the winning designs this year. And I'll post some pictures. Oops. I'll post some pictures. We had some cookies made up with the winning designs on there, so I'll post a couple of pictures of those in the as the podcast goes. We also had one of our alumni who was a former research student of mine come back, Matt Hankins. He is Dr. Matt Hankins. He has got his PhD from Cornell last year, and now he has a postdoc at Caltech. He came back and gave a really good talk to our students and talked to them a little bit. I hope beyond hope that we're going to be able to hire Jeremy, one of my first research students. He has actually applied for a full-time position at my university, so I hope that that all works out. And then also I got to see Renee Brock. She came and helped with Super Science Saturday, and now Renee Clemente, and she brought her little boy to his first planetarium show. It warms my heart to see my former students come back and participate. And actually, I really was so touched because both at Science Fair and also at Super Science Saturday, a lot of my former students and also a lot of my current students in my college physics class came out and volunteered. And so the idea that the millennial generation is beyond redemption and they're very self-centered, frankly, I just don't see that borne out. I don't see that. I see very engaged, very interested, very compassionate, empathetic young people. And I think that if you believe otherwise about them, you are selling them short, and you're, you know, terribly uninformed about what these young people are doing. So I would like to just say that I do not see that to be true in my students. Oops, what did we knock down, Lily? Oops, I knocked down a thread holder. Also, we had our celebration of women in STEM. I was not directly involved with that, but I did go to several of the programs because as a minority faculty mentor, my faculty protege, Dr. Lisa Van Hoos, was on the panel, and she was talking about how, you know, if you had looked at her on paper, you would have written her off. And it was just the fact that she had a good support system in her mother and father. You know, she was from a poor neighborhood. She's African American. She was a teen mother. And the guidance counselors basically said, you really ought to look at working at McDonald's. And she said, her mama said, no, that's not what we're doing. And good for her mama. I'm proud that her mama stepped up and said, no, you can be more than that. And now Lisa is one of the leaders in her field of physical therapy, and she is particularly interested in physical therapy for women post cancer, post oncology surgeries and things like that. So was very much pleased to see her on the panel and listen to her talk. Very pleased to see student involvement in that group. And then also this Saturday was Super Science Saturday. This is our 6th Super Science Saturday. It was the biggest one we have done, and it is by far the one that has run the smoothest. I was so touched to have friends. My friend Carol came and helped volunteer with, we had a couple of kids that the mother had kind of given us a head up would need a little special attention. So I got on the phone to Carol, and she immediately said, yes ma'am, I will be there. And so I was very grateful for that, because she has a lot of experience working with, okay, my phone just did something very strange, but anyway, Carol did a great job helping us with the students that needed a little bit more attention. Renee, as I mentioned, Renee Clemente, she came and brought her little boy, and she was a great help. Jeremy brought his little boy and his wife, and his little boy decided that I'm his new favorite friend. I was very pleased that Teddy liked me so much, but Jeremy was assigned to one of the other students and did a great job with making sure that they got a good experience and stayed within their boundaries, which was good. A lot of my former students came out, a lot of my current students came out and helped, and it just went really, really well. One student, her mom and dad and sister came, so it was just a really great, I was very emotional at the end of it, because I was just so pleased that so many of my students thought enough of this program to come out and participate. I think all of the participants had a great time. So I feel like that went really well. I've got lots of pictures. I'm going to put them together in a little video at the end for us. We're roaring down to the end of the semester. This week is our last full week of instruction. The next week we go for half a week, and then we're done. But in the end of this week, we have the Student Research Symposium. So I have multiple students presenting their research at that. Then we have the following Friday is Girls of Power in STEM, which I am a presenter for every year, where we bring, I think we bring 400 or 500 8th grade girls onto campus, and all of the presenters are women in some kind of STEM field. So I'm very excited to be part of that again. I've done that every year that we've offered it. So, and I think that that's important. I think that's important for young women to know. Even now they still get negative messaging, so I think it's important for them to see this is possible for you. This is possible for you to be able to do anything your heart desires. So hopefully we can entice and excite the next generation. And in fact, I found out a couple of my students decided to volunteer because they had gone to something very similar to this, and that's why they went into science. So they were very pleased to be involved in that. That's pretty much what's going on campus. As I said, just very, very hectic the last couple of weeks, and so it's been a challenge getting through everything, but we're making it. And yeah, so now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about farm life. Okay, so what's going here on the farm? Well, it's spring. Spring has sprung. Everything is greening up. We had a bit of a cold snap this weekend, which, you know, prior to Easter, you can usually count on one of those happening. So lots of things going on outside. I've been trying to get some projects done. I found out my generator, the control board is bad, so that's going to be a $500 kick in the hiney. And then I got my mortgage balloon, and I remember very distinctly when I did this mortgage, I said I wanted to pay on it for 20 years, and we're coming up on the we're in the 14th year. And I'm sitting there looking at that number, and I'm like, there is no way that's going to be paid off in the next 6 years. And I'm kind of starting to think that the balloon situation gets you in trouble. So what I've decided that I'm going to do is we'll have to go in and take care of that, and then by this time next year, I'll have another big bill paid off. So I'm going to take that money and start paying extra on my mortgage, because it's really important to me to get that thing paid off so that I can start working toward this education center that I want to build here. I want to build an educational retreat center, and I want to be able to do some infrastructure improvement, and so that's going to take money. And so I really need to get that mortgage cleared. And so my goal, even though the bank doesn't want me to be done with it in 6 years, I still want to be on track to have it paid off in the next 6 or 7 years. I don't want to be running that thing out, you know, to 10 or 15 years longer. But anyway, so we'll take care of that this week too. I did burn the debris from the old house that you saw piled up in the video. I've got a little bit of footage that I'll put in of that. I did go ahead and burn that. We had the perfect conditions where we had rain all night Saturday night. It was cool on a Sunday morning. It was not windy, so I went down there and started it. And I was sitting there looking and starting to kind of plan how I want to do some improvements around it before I start building a building down there for the retreat center. Yeah, so I planted some more lettuces and some cabbages and things like that, and some seeds. I did seed all my flowers, or not all my flowers, but some of my flowers. My friend Sasha gave me a couple of Indian red peach trees that she had grown out. They're about 2 years old, so I got those planted. I need to get Penny's and the birds' pen area bigger so that they have more of an area to wander around, because we are going to be adding more turkeys and then the ducklings, which you already know about, and chicks. I did get some turkey some turkey poults, I should say. The feed store ordered turkeys, so I picked up some turkey poults. They were a little bit pricey, but they were still cheaper than if I had ordered them myself. And then I also asked them to order me some specific chicks, which were not supposed to be here till May 1st, and they came yesterday, or they came Friday, they came Friday. So I've had to rig up a place to put them. I thought I was going to have them in here peeping and cheeping around, but I managed to rig up a place to put them where they would be safe. Unfortunately, a couple of the little ones were droopy and they did not make it. Apparently, mine were in a box with some ducklings, and they were supposed to be delivered on Thursday, and somehow the wires got crossed and they didn't get delivered, and somebody put them outside Thursday night on a loading dock, and the ducklings did not do well. The chicks, most of my chicks look okay, but I did have a couple of smaller ones in my salmon favorels that were just a little bit droopy, and I tried to help them, but sometimes when they're little like that, they just fade, and that was really kind of sad, but we did what we could. Then we are coming into the end of the owls stuff. This week's owls class, or this month's owls class, the Outdoor Women Learning Skills, was on fishing. And I've fished and I've cleaned fish, but I'm not really an expert at it, so it's always good to learn more about that kind of stuff. I also put some of my expertise from my owls classes in the edible plants to use, and I've been harvesting some things that I could freeze and use, because one of the things that I need to do for myself personally is improve my eating. I've been eating pretty badly, and it's starting to take a toll on me, and so not only just with weight gain, but just with how, oh, I'm sorry, did I squeeze you? I'm so sorry. So, I just feel like I need to eat better, and with summer coming up, I'm really bad not to eat breakfast, go to the barn, and then I'm starving, so it's tempting to stop and get fast food. So to avoid that, I want to try to figure out some things that I can do for eating. I was gifted an Instapot, so I'm going to learn how to use that. But also, I want to do some smoothies. I like fruit and vegetables, and that's a good way to get fruit and vegetables into my diet, and something that'll stick with me a little bit more maybe than a granola bar or something. So I've been doing some research about that. Also been riding some, been riding horses some, and that's been a lot of fun. So we've been working with the kids on horsemanship clinic and we've got a new crop of kids, and we're having to kind of show them the way that the barn runs and the way that we want things done, and that's been working out really good. So yeah, we're just kind of, going along doing some, I've harvested some wild violets, and I dried some of the leaves for soap. I took some of the flowers and used them in an aloe vera gel to make some after sun skincare. And then, because I do wear a lot of sunblock, but still occasionally you do need something a little soothing. And then also I'm making some violet vinegar, which you can use for a few different things. And that's just as simple as using the violet flowers in some vinegar to make a vinegar, a infused vinegar or so. Got all that going right now, so that should be good. Thank you everybody for all the good feedback about my potato bin video and stuff. I appreciate that. But I just want to focus more on using more of what I have at hand and using up stuff rather than being so disposable. And I've been working toward that slowly but surely, but I want to continue to improve that this year. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on the farm. I've still got some planting to do. I need to get my tomato plants set out. So once this cold snap moves by, I'll get those planted. I've got the rest of my flower seeds and some seeds for my glass gem corn and some squash that I'll get set out soon. But yeah, so still got a lot going on the farm, but that's kind of where we're at for today. So I think that's where we'll call it in. So I'll leave y'all with a few final thoughts. Well, we had rain yesterday most all day, a hard rain. There's even puddles on the ground, so it's time to light it up. It's interesting to think about all the memories in this house. Some of them good, some of them not so good, but part of who I am. I've got a nosy cow over there watching too. She'll head on out in a minute. But even though it was wet on the outside, it was still dry underneath, so I placed my burning stuff strategically. Hopefully it's so wet. This is just a scrap tree right here, and then this poor cedar, you know, is in a bad spot, so it's going to get burned too. But got to burn the old to make way for the new, so maybe now I can start planning and thinking about building back here with a classroom building and a bunkhouse for a retreat center someday. That's my long-term goal. So this is how you make way. So some people asked me how I felt about this, or were worried about how I would feel. And honestly, it was time. This house had fallen down. It was beyond repairing. And I wouldn't have repaired it, honestly, if I could. Yeah, there's a lot of family history there, but you know what? I'll make new history. And that's okay. Sometimes the old's got to give way to the new. Today was a perfect day. It was like the universe aligned everything that I needed. It had rained, it's cool, and there's no wind. And I have all day where I can sit here and tend it if I need to. So the universe said, hey, time to move forward. So I did. Hi guys. Okay, I guess the discovery of the black hole got me thinking a little bit about who are we? And, you know, the old Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song, you know, we're stardust, or Moby's song, we are all made of stars, and you know, my research too. And I found this poem that I wanted to share with you. So it's a little sciencey, but it's something to think about are we really different, or are these differences just a construct? It's called We Are All Made of Stars by Samuel Illingworth, and this is from the Poetry of Science blog. 13.8 billion years ago, the universe exploded into life, cutting through space and time like a celestial knife through butter, and bringing with it every permutation and combination of events that will ever occur. The remnants of that blast forgot the heat of their ferocious past, and the tiny particles came together to form elements of hydrogen and helium. With time, these clouds of dust and gas built the bonds that would last, coming together under gravity to form stars which burnt with nuclear fire. Their temperature got higher, and the center of these stars, in their very core, the hydrogen and helium fused together to form new elements: lithium, beryllium, carbon. As these heavier elements were created, the star became so massive that they eventually collapsed under the weight of their own gravitational narcissism, resulting in the explosions of supernovae. These supernovae scattered the star's elements across the universe, where once more they came together under gravity to form new stars and new planets. And so our solar system, our sun, and our earth are all made from the fragments of some ancient stars. We are literally made from stardust. So you see, when it comes down to it, we are not black, white, gay, straight, pan, or monogender. There are no Jews, Muslims, atheists, Christians, or Jedis. The beggar in the street that you walk by, the refugee that you sneer at, the children that you keep locked in your camps and are ultimately the same as you. The differences between us are as invisible as the barriers that you point to on your map. And as futile as the barricades that you erect to your capitalist gods of famine, war, pestilence, and greed, you see we are all made of stars. And when we finally destroy this world that we have made, you know, the one that we could have saved, then we will explode in a cacophony of colors. Genders, races, creeds, and political opinions are screams lost to the vast emptiness, floating into empty space, yet filling the chasms that have opened between us. And as we sail out into the cosmos, we will join our hands together, united once more, as cosmic stardust that is free from cosmetic flaw. So even if you don't want to take the science of that, sometimes things blow apart to come back together, and that we're all made of stardust. And that when we join together in this harmony of gravity, as they said, we can build great things. So, anyway, we are all made of stars. Anyway, I wanted to leave you with that thought. And we will see y'all soon. And Willie is going to sleep again. Come here, Bubby. Oh, I know it. So, until we see y'all again, y'all be good to each other. Huh? And take care of each other. You want to tell everybody bye? And peace out, y'all. Bye.